It's all about truth. All of it. Every single thing. All boils down to the truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free. And we are live. Welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Dan Dicks. We're going to be here live for the next little while, taking your comments and your questions, covering a lot of news, as you can tell by the title of this video. We are live right now on Rumble. If you happen to be watching this on any other video platform right now, that means you are watching the rebroadcast. So if you do want to catch some of these live streams in the future, make sure you do subscribe to me on Rumble. You can do so here. If you go to my homepage at pressfortruth.ca, if you go right up to the top here, you'll see I have Minds, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, a link to Instagram and Twitter as well, but the green one there is Rumble. Be sure you subscribe to me there, guys, if you want to catch these live broadcasts in the future. As you can tell by the let me make sure we're doing this correctly. Yeah, it looks like we're good, guys. Let me as you can see here, guys, my homepage is covered with Bilderberg coverage. Obviously, I just got home from my extensive coverage of the 70th annual Bilderberg conference, and in case you don't know, this is where some of the top elite politicians and policymakers and world shapers meet once a year in private to discuss the fate of the world. And I've been going to this event for a long time now, 18 years actually. I've covered 11 of these conferences. And the reason why is to get in some of those questions that the mainstream media would never dare ask any of these people, mainly because some of them are on the inside of the Bilderberg conference, so they have to hold strict to Chatham House rules. But I certainly continue to go to these things to question these politicians, and this is something that politicians and policymakers have to deal with all over the world. And as you can tell by the title of this video, I wanted to share with you a new Quebec law, whereas as you see here, Quebec adopts a new law to fine people who intimidate and harass politicians. Now, obviously, this begs the question, what is their definition of intimidation, right? Or harassment? Is now just engaging in open debate with a politician going to be considered intimidation or harassment? Is questioning them about things that go off of the status quo going to be considered intimidation or harassing politicians? This is absolutely insane. Quebec's legislature had adopted a new law that includes fines of up to $1,500 for anybody who intimidates or harasses a politician. So we're going to talk about that, guys. Meanwhile, speaking of politicians, a lot of news has happened in my absence here, namely Donald Trump, the 45th U.S. president, has been found guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records. And guys, this is... I've been saying this since the very, very beginning of the Trump selection process, that these are, this is completely, this whole thing is so staged, it's beyond belief. I put this out on Twitter while I was in Spain, in Madrid, Spain, covering the conference there. I had to just chime in and say, this BS is more choreographed than a ballet. Trump has been selected already. He will win. Just watch how this tweet ages. The false left-right paradigm is in full swing and everyone is buying it. One side is going to say, you elected a felon, while the other is going to say, BS. And guess who wins, guys? The New World Order wins. So we're going to talk about that in today's live broadcast. Also, as you can tell by the title of the video, Fauci squirms during GOP grilling over COVID and pandemic response. Guys, in case you didn't know, Fauci basically just admitted that there was no science behind the masking of young children in schools, behind the 6 feet social distancing rules, behind the whole lockdowns that were implemented here. He's essentially admitted that there is no science behind any of this, and once again is vindicating those of us who have been saying this stuff all along and pointing out that men like him and others are blatant liars. Like these people here. Remember when they said nobody said you're going to get COVID if you're not vaccinated? Really? Look at what these people said. Fauci, when people are vaccinated, they're not going to get infected. That's a direct quote. You got the President of the United States. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. You've got the CDC director here saying vaccinated people do not carry the virus and don't get sick. This MSNBC news host, Rachel Maddow, says now we know the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops. You got Bill Gates saying everyone who takes the vaccine is reducing their transmission. We all know none of this is true. This is all blatant lies. Albert Bourla. There is no variant that escapes the protection of our vaccines. Again, we know this is all now just blatant lies, and you've got the likes of Fauci himself sitting here being grilled. It's like practically being on trial. It's a beautiful thing, and the man should be. He should be facing prosecution and eventually heading to jail. So we're gonna talk about all of that. Meanwhile, guys, this is coming from the Canadian Cancer Society. Check this out. The article says, as a trans man or non-binary person assigned female at birth, do I need to get screened for cervical cancer? Now, that's a very specific type of cancer, and it's a very specific word that is obviously referring to something very specific, right? Well, the Canadian Cancer Society felt that they needed to essentially apologize for the very wording of their own article, where here they say, words matter. We recognize that many trans men and non-binary people may have mixed feelings about or feel distanced from words like cervix. You may prefer other words, such as front hole. You can't make this stuff up, guys. They want to replace the word cervix with front hole to be more inclusive of non-binary and transgender people. And not just more inclusive, they literally say in their own words, they want to use front hole instead of cervix to normalize the reality that men can have these body parts too. No, they cannot. This is coming from the Canadian Cancer Society, who wants you to believe that men can have a cervix and that it should be referred to as a front hole so as to be inclusive to non-binary people. It's absolutely insane, guys. So just wanted to bring this to your attention. We're going to cover all of this today and much more. But really quickly, guys, if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this info, I'd like to remind you to check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Here you can do a one-time donation with PayPal. You can do Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. The BTC space is doing rather well now, guys. If you are up and you would like to contribute, please click right there. You can also sign up to my Patreon alternative for a monthly recurring contribution. You could also do that here at Subscribestar. $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever is within your means is greatly appreciated, guys. You can also send stuff to my P.O. box, which is down here, and you can also e-transfer me at dan@pressfortruth.ca. Thank you so much to everybody who does take the time and effort to support my work here at Press for Truth. All right, real quickly, guys, let me check out the chat. Make sure we do have people watching right now and commenting. Looks like I have 29 people viewing right now with the channel with almost 10,000 followers. I don't know if that math adds up, but one bit of math that I know doesn't add up is 29 people and only one thumb up. Please click that like button, guys. I'm sure the algorithms here at Rumble are probably similar to others, so if you continue to click that like button, if you're just tuning in now, it may help this live broadcast have a better chance of being seen by the larger Rumble audience. So yeah, as I said, there's this new Quebec law that adopts, they just adopted this new law to fine people who, quote, intimidate or harass politicians. Quebec's legislature has adopted this law that includes fines of up to $1,500 for anybody who intimidates or harasses politicians. The coalition Avenir Quebec government has said that the law is necessary to stem the rise in resignations of elected officials, particularly at the municipal level, but critics say it threatens free speech. So this is kind of comical, actually. They have a survey which indicates that 74% of elected municipal leaders reported to having experienced harassment or intimidation, and that 741 out of 8,000 of them had quit since elections were held across the province. Aside from fines, the law allows elected officials to ask the Superior Court for an injunction against a citizen who threatens or intimidates or harasses them. Guys, this is obviously a very scary thing for free speech in Canada when they're instituting laws that may actually prevent you from, they say, threatening or intimidating or harassing a politician. But again, as I said, where are they going to draw the line on what constitutes harassment or intimidation? You know, if someone like myself approaches a Canadian politician, for example, who attended the Bilderberg conference, and I say, what were you doing there? What sort of things were discussed? Who were you meeting with? Who were you talking to? Because they are operating under Chatham House rules, did that mean they can say they are being intimidated or harassed by me? This is obviously going to have some huge indications for free speech online here in Canada. You do have critics saying this is going to harm free speech. Obviously it is. Quebec newsroom leaders are calling out this new bill to protect politicians from abuse, saying the legislation is excessive and it potentially going to stifle democratic debate. And that's exactly what I'm saying here as well. They're including fines of up to $500 and $1,500 for people who are reasonably fearing for their integrity or safety. But, as I said, what are they going to constitute as being reasonable? I think this law is going to be used to just essentially shut down voices like mine and anybody who wants to essentially question the status quo. You know, they want their mainstream narrative, and that's it. And anybody who strays outside of that, they could just say was harassing me or intimidating me or threatening me with their questions. I'm pretty much can guarantee that's going to be the case. So this is something that is relatively new in Quebec, and hopefully it doesn't spread all across the country. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think this is actually designed to protect politicians who are allegedly resigning in large numbers, or is it a little bit more about maintaining that status quo, stopping people from getting out there and asking and demanding those real questions that need to be answered? Let me know what you guys think. Also, guys, you know, I've not been talking about this whole Trump trial over the whole course of it. You may have noticed I haven't made a single video on this in like 6 months. Why? Because I feel it's a massive distraction. The guy has already been selected by the powers that ought not be to be the next president this year. The selection has been made, and I am of the full understanding that this is a controlled left-right paradigm that we are dealing with here. You do not become the president of the United States, get into this position at this stage in the game, unless the powers that ought not be have allowed this to happen. And, you know, I liken it to, like, way back when the music industry started putting warning labels on albums that had explicit lyrics, and some of our artists were saying like, oh, this is going to ruin us, this is going to bury us, nobody's going to buy our stuff anymore. But a few of them were smart enough to realize, no, this is excellent publicity. You put that sticker on there, and guess what? Every kid out there is now going to want to buy this album and listen to it even more just because you said you can't. And there's a psychology behind this idea that allowing Trump to get convicted on all 34 accounts is going to lead to, as I said here on Twitter, the biggest vote count, I think it's going to lead to. The U.S. will see the biggest vote count it has ever seen, solidifying statism, when in reality, a low to zero vote count is what should be celebrated. So all this is going to do is going to cause like everybody to want to vote for the felon. And it's going to pit Americans into this massive divide, unlike, making 2016 look like a cakewalk, where it's going to be, you voted for the felon and no, I didn't. The whole thing was BS from the beginning. Again, all this stuff is done by design. And, I happen to believe that when it comes to AI technology, I think they've had this type of technology for decades. If we are now being exposed to this and are being allowed to use it for ourselves, I think the powers that ought not be have had this technology for a long time, and they've used it to come up with creative false flags and also situations that would ensure and guarantee certain outcomes in their desires. Like, for example, who they would like people to vote for the President of the United States. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was this AI technology that suggested, hey, you convict him on all 34 counts and the people are going to vote for him like you have never seen before. And I think that's what we're seeing. And we're, as I said here, guys, I had to chime in on it. It's total BS. It's more choreographed than a ballet, or maybe it could better be explained as kind of like a fake wrestling match. The whole thing is choreographed. The man has already been selected. He is going to win. Just watch how this tweet ages. The false left-right paradigm is in full swing, and the New World Order essentially wins. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Are you on the Trump train, or do you see the false left-right paradigm and the manipulation that's going on through so-called democracy, which is the illusion of choice at this stage of the game? Speaking of these guys who need to be exposed, Fauci has been absolutely squirming during the grilling over COVID and his pandemic response. Former NIAID Director Dr. Anthony Fauci was grilled by Republicans during Monday's testimony in front of the House Select Committee on the coronavirus pandemic, where he repeatedly denied Republican allegations that he sought to cover up the COVID-19 lab leak theory, calling the accusation absolutely false and simply preposterous. I will put a link to this in the description below, guys. There's a whole bunch of really good examples and tweets here of people like calling him out for the masking, for example, of children, for the lockdowns, for the closing of schools, all this stuff. This Marjorie Taylor Greene lady says he should be in jail and should be prosecuted. Lots of good clips here. There was this one too, which is going around. It's going pretty viral. It's a pretty good compilation of the barefaced lies, as they put it, and the contradictions that were propagated by Anthony Fauci since the start of the pandemic. Let's watch this for a little bit, and you can get a taste of what it's like.
Criticizing science.
In the meantime, let me
because I represent
keep an eye
science.
on your comments and questions here.
If you're vaccinated, you really don't need to worry about getting it in a way that's serious or transmitting it.
That is true. That is correct, Chris. It'll either protect you completely against infection, and the chances are very likely that you'll not be able to transmit it to other people. The risk is extremely low of transmitting it to anybody else. Full stop. Vaccinated people are clearly capable of transmitting the infection.
Again, this goes on and on. It's a pretty good compilation, but it's over 5 minutes long. I won't play the whole thing for you right now, but again, you can check those links in the description below. But it's about time he's starting to get the tough grilling that he deserves. And somebody who else I think deserves this now is obviously the Canadian Cancer Society, who's apologizing for using the word cervical. This is just absolutely insane. Look at this. Trans, non-binary, and gender-diverse people face significant barriers to accessing healthcare and are less likely than cisgendered people to be screened for cancer. Barriers that can make participating in cancer screening challenging for people in the trans community include transphobia and discrimination. First of all, guys, transphobia is not a thing. A phobia implies an irrational fear of something. There's nothing irrational here about discussing the issues that come along with this. The policing of our speech, and in a lot of cases, the sexualization of young children. This is the issues that we have here. So it's not a phobia. Limited healthcare provider knowledge about issues affecting trans people. Yeah, that's because this is a relatively new social contagion. There's doctors here who are perplexed because they're like, I know biology, I know what sex is, and this isn't it. And if they speak out about it, they could be ostracized now. It's just absolutely insane. A lack of trans-specific resources and concerns about physical and emotional safety. But getting screened for cancer is an important part of regular medical care for everyone, because the earlier cancer is found, the better the outcomes and the treatments will be. So again, they apologized in their footnotes here for using the word cervix, saying they should have referred to it as front hole. There's this True North article. It says Canadian Cancer Society apologizes for not calling cervix front hole in non-binary disclaimer. On a webpage dedicated to cervical cancer, the Canadian Cancer Society is apologizing for referring to the cervix by its technical name rather than euphemisms such as front hole. Like I said, you can't make this stuff up. The agency has also conceded that men can have these body parts too. We already read this. Trans, non-binary, and gender-diverse people face significant barriers. They said in a words matter section, they said, you should refer to the cervix instead as a front hole. We recognize that many trans men and non-binary people may have mixed feelings about this. You might prefer words like front hole, the Canadian Cancer Society wrote. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Women's rights activists are arguing that the terminology is both objectifying and derogatory, and obviously it is. They also have words like bonus hole or front hole, which they recommend as trans-friendly alternatives to vagina. There's all sorts of transgender alternative words that they want you to use. Like, they don't want you to say woman anymore. They don't want you to say mother anymore, and they don't want you to say the word vagina, because these are obviously very specific terms. And now cervix is going to have to be rebranded as bonus hole or front hole. Trans ideologues have long tried to erase or appropriate any word that is specific to females, from mother, woman to mother, and now vagina. And they have gained a foothold in our schools and our media. Now, gynecological health providers are swallowing the stupid pills too, argued Burchill in a 2023 essay published to Spike. The term front hole or bonus hole have been popularized by LGBTQ activists as a replacement for the biologically correct term vagina. In 2022, controversy erupted at the Boston Children's Hospital, which used the term. And other organizations dedicated to women's health have also adopted the offensive term. A transgender male teen may still have a vagina. He won't call it a vagina. He may use the term front hole or a different term, said this doctor in a video posted by the hospital. Just unbelievably insane nonsense, really, coming from the Canadian Cancer Society, who, of course, Justin Trudeau, the biggest advocate for, transgender activism. He's a feminist. He's a pro-trans activist himself, of course, pictured here with the very same people who want you to use the term frontal instead of cervix. It's absolutely insane, guys. And I don't say that to be mean. I just say this to be truthful, because this is insane. Like, let me know what you guys think in that comment section. In fact, let me take a quick look and see if we have any questions or any other new comments. We have T. Luke and Lauren and do not comply or something like that. Only 2 born male or female. Yes, exactly. That's the options. Obviously, hermaphrodites exist. But this is such a small percentage of society, like a 0.00001 type of percentage, that it doesn't call for a complete new third category of sex. That's where everything is kind of getting out of hand here. So yeah, guys, if you want to check it out for yourself, check out the Canadian Cancer Society and this article that they just posted about not using the word cervical. Well, the article's not about that, but they apologize for using the very real and technical term. Again, I want to remind you that Quebec now has this law that's going to be potentially fining people anywhere upwards of $500 to $1,500 for harassing or intimidating politicians. Again, this is totally a front to just stifle free speech and to continue with the mainstream narrative of events, and to stop people from having the ability to go out unmolested to confront politicians without having to worry about some sort of law shutting us down. Again, I want to remind you about the guilty verdict that has been a part of the plan all along. This obviously is just going to empower this man and make him an absolute hero amongst so many people who are going to vote for the felon when it's absolute nonsense. It's two wings of the same bird. It's a choreographed ballet or wrestling match, and I really wish people would see it for what it is. That's why I put this out here. My friend Josh Sigurdsson chimes in and says, such a typical psyop. To those that pretend to be awake yet bow to presidents, have fun with this one. And I would agree. And it's also nice to finally see Fauci starting to, squirm after being grilled over these COVID pandemic responses. Again, you can check the description for the links to all of this that we're talking about here. As I said, there's a lot of good tweets this article has linked to, watching the man just totally squirm and in some cases break down crying, saying that he is being intimidated and harassed and threatened. This is the type of people that need to be not harassed and threatened, but need to be, questioned rigorously and asking the questions that the mainstream media are not going to ask. I think that's why we got new laws like this coming to fruition here in Canada, specifically in Quebec. So just wanted to bring all of this to your attention, guys. Again, it's fun to do this live. It's fun to hang out with you guys in the live chat. Let me take one more look, see if we have any new comments or questions. I've only got 34 people tuned in right now, and still only one click on the thumbs up. That doesn't add up, guys. Maybe that's why only 34 people are watching out of my 10,000 subscribers here on Rumble. We need to start getting these live views up, and it's going to help with you guys sharing the broadcast, clicking the thumbs up button, and, helping boost the algorithms on this platform here to help PFT get some more views. So hopefully you can help with that. And if you do like this, going live, let me know. I plan to do it a lot more often, but just wanted to quickly go live today to bring all this to your attention. I want to remind you to check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. If you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this information, you can click that top link in the description below. And I think that's it for today, guys. I'm going to call it on this live broadcast. Again, if you happen to be watching this right now on any other platform, like BitChute or Odyssey or Minds or Band or YouTube for that matter, any other place than Rumble, you can catch my future live broadcasts by subscribing to me on Rumble, so long as the algorithms are not being manipulated against me like they have been on other platforms. So hopefully not, but we shall see. And I will continue to do more of these. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to do so, don't forget to check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. And that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to me on Rumble if you want to catch these live broadcasts live in the future. Thank you for everybody who did tune in live. I will thank you in advance for clicking that thumbs up button and sharing the video. Hopefully we can get the algorithms going in our favor here for PFT on Rumble. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.